then you really struggle to deal with it effectively, because then it's immediately going to have that any weaknesses from those electric type attacks taken away. You're going to have the fighting type attacks that could come out into that slot. If there is another choice of terrestrialization, of course, that's resisted. So if you're left kind of with something like Annihilate there, then you're having to rely on the Rage Fist. But if you can't terrestrialize your Annihilate, then you are going to be hit for super effective damage from the Moonblast. Of course, you've already said as well that there is the Haze there to undo any of those boosts that the Electro Shock can rack up. And you've got a nice support option as well with that Electabuzz. If you do see that the route that Fevzi does go down, where you can redirect those electro shots into the Electabuzz, because they're going to be able to kind of resist those, take those pretty comfortably, and allow the Primarina the room to kind of function. The same could be said between the Primarina and the King Gambit, where you can go down the line of maybe setting up the King Gambit to get that Swords Dance. I think that's quite important in this match, to allow the Sucker Punch, to allow that Kowtow Cleave, especially if the terrestrialization's there, to do the damage that is going to be required.
The one thing I like about the Electabuzz in this situation for Nicolo is that you can redirect a beat up from Mousehold and stop Fevzi automatically being able to boost up his Pokemon, the Archaludon and the Annihilate. Now, even if Nicolo is able to take away those boosts from Haze, it is worth also mentioning that Rage Fist boosts, power boosts that come out from the Annihilate being hit time and time again do not go away. They don't get treated like a stat boost. So that could be something that both of these trainers have to consider if the Annihilate does take chip damage over and over again.
Well, chip damage is one thing, but we're into it. Here's top 8 at the Dortmund Regional Championships. We are kicking off with the Fevzi side of the field, the Mousehold and Annihilate, and on Nicolo's side of the field, we are going to see the Electabuzz and that Primarina.
And you can see straight away that Follow Me is really going to be impactful in this position. You definitely don't want to allow the Mousehold to go for a beat up and then start boosting up that Annihilate's Rage Fist damage. But the Mousehold does have a good tool in Haze that it can go for. Stop the Electabuzz going for a Follow Me later, and then be able to set that up. It does, though, depend on the training, because the Electabuzz also has a taunt available to it. And if this Mousehold is a little bit slower, a little bit more supportive, then maybe the Electabuzz has the opportunity to outspeed it.
Well, we're soon going to find out as we kick off this battle with the first terrestrialization, and because of the threat from the Primarina, the Annihilate is deciding to go into a pure water type here, just to take that weakness away, give it a little bit of a breathing space on the field, as we are just going to see a protect from the Electabuzz this turn, not wanting to take any risk of getting taunt here or any damage either. That taunt from the Mousehold into that slot, trying to prevent that Follow Me in subsequent turns, and the Primarina left alone. But before we get to the Primarina, we've got to get that bulk up going on the Annihilate, boosting that attack and the defense by one stage, getting even more threatening as we go forward, and followed up with a Hyper Voice doing nice damage to the Mousehold, and because of the terrestrialization, the resistance there, not doing too much to that Annihilate.
With the Annihilate at such good health and recovering it through its leftovers as well, you're not even going to be worried, if you're Fevzi, about the extra damage now that the Electro Web is going to be able to do to the Annihilate. And there's a decision to be made as well for Nicolo here. Do you have to feel like you have to go for the Electro Web, activate that Defiant, just so that that Annihilate is just that little bit slower, and maybe you can get some extra attacks into it? Maybe if you're able to go for an Electro Web before the Annihilate is going to act, then you could haze away the Defiant boosts that the Electro Web has. You kind of end up in the same place, but at least the Annihilate doesn't have that bulk up boost anymore.
No, but we are going to see the Mousehold just protect itself. Doesn't want to go down just yet. That protection coming out this turn, as that Follow Me is chosen from the Electabuzz. It's going to draw all attacks into that side of the field, protecting the Primarina, and coming out is a Rage Fist. It has got the one boost already from that Hyper Voice, doing some pretty respectable damage after the bulk up, followed up by another Hyper Voice, trying to get and pick off that Mousehold. But Fevzi taking full advantage here, Ben, taking advantage because the resist on the Hyper Voice now, it is a water type move because of the Liquid Voice ability, of course, and it is activating the Rage Fist, boosting it up all the time at getting those moves, and Fevzi quite happy to let it sit there and take those Hyper Voice for the majority of the time. The Electabuzz now is going to be threatened by a knockout, and the Primarina are going to take a lot of damage if a Rage Fist is targeted into that side of the field.
Definitely, it's something that you've got to be really scared of. Of course, Throat Spray is activated on Nicolo's Primarina, so the second Hyper Voice would probably be enough to knock out that mouse hold there. But Fevzi protecting it so well. The Sinister switching in and getting that hospitality boost. It's another redirect for the Electabuzz. This Rage Fist is boosted up yet further. It's going to be able to pick up the KO here, knock out the Electabuzz, and knock out any form of redirection that Nicolo has available to them. Another Hyper Voice targeting down into the Annihilate and the Sinister. But this Annihilate, with a hospitality boost, with those leftovers acting every single turn, it is just sitting there, so happy to be there.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I think you really need to stop pressuring it right off the bat now, and one answer to that is the Dragapult that we are seeing hitting the field now for Nicolo, and it does have that choice band. It does have the ability to go for those Dragon Darts as well. They potentially could do good damage, but with the bulk up already under its belt, it is going to be taking less damage because of that defensive boost. You're not really going to get as much out of the Dragapult as you would have normally.
Well, the Primarina is going to be getting on out of there, fearing that the Annihilate is going to be targeting into that slot. Coming in favor is the Sneasler, trying to get some fake-out pressure on the board. Now that the Annihilate is a Terra Water, it's going to be susceptible to that. You do boost up Rage Fist, but I think I prefer to boost up Rage Fist one more time in this situation rather than get hit by it instead. So the Dragapult responding with a Terra and getting that Terra Dragon going, getting some extra damage on the board here with these Dragon Darts. Both of them going to land into the Sinister and be able to not even pick up the KO, even with that Terra, especially since it gets some HP recovery with the Citrus Berry.
Yeah, you know, when your Dragon Darts are going into one target opposed to spread across two, you think it's probably going to get the knockout. Here's that Rage Fist you were talking about, Ben, into the Sneasler, just saved by its Focus Sash item, so it is going to be able to stick around on the field, pressure that Sinister the next turn, and like you already quite rightly mentioned, the Fake Out, which can now come into the Water type Annihilate.
Yeah, no, Sinister's definitely not going to be able to hang on with another Dragon Dust. There, I was thinking, hey, with the Citrus Berry, is it going to be enough? But no, definitely not. So the Rage Powder can come out here, and we saw the mechanic earlier. If you do go for a Follow Me and the first Dragon Dart knocks out the Sinister, the second does target into that empty slot and doesn't target down the Annihilate. So there's a couple of ways to sort of protect your Annihilate in this situation, but of course you do have the ability to go for a redirection with the mouse hold in the back. You've got the Friend Guard there available. No fake out coming out from this Sinister, just another Rage Powder.
We are going to see the Dragon Darts powered up, boosted by that Terrestrialization, and the first one is enough to take down that Sinister. The second one will be interesting to see how much it does to this Annihilate, but because of the Rage Powder there, like you mentioned, that mechanic really key in protecting it. Just a Dire Claw. Can it get a secondary effect? It gets the paralysis, which is very big. And
Ozkan doesn't move!
It's paralyzed. It can't attack this turn. The Dire Claw coming in so clutch once again.
Oh, you definitely... That's the other way to fake out your opponent there. Just go for the Dire Claw, get the sleep, get the paralysis, and have it act in that way. Yeah, it gives Nicolo a little bit more breathing room, but it's still an uphill battle here. I mean, you've got the ability to go for Dragon Darts now. It's probably going to be enough to knock out the mouse hold. We get the benefit of seeing the Archaludon in the back here, but being part steel, it's not going to be weak to the Dragon Dart, so you do have an opportunity for the stamina to get activated on the Archaludon and get that set up as well.
But with the Follow Me here, you've got one more opportunity to fully protect that Annihilate, at least from the Dragon Darts. The Dragon Darts will come out from the mouse hold, probably pick it up in one shot, but that second one, like we just saw with that mechanic, it will be pulled into that side, so the Annihilate safe, at least this turn. Has the Sneasler got enough in the tank to be able to get the Annihilate? And can the Annihilate break through this paralysis and attack this turn? Because you've got to think, if it lands one Rage Fist into either of the these targets on Nicolo's side of the field, it is going to be picking up a key knockout.
Well, it's going to be the first Dragon Dart and potentially the second that will be able to pick up the knockout. Yeah, only one Dragon Dart required. One Dreepy can have a little bit of time off this time round. And a close combat coming from the Sneasler into the Annihilate. It's not enough to pick up the KO here. Will the Annihilate be able to act in this situation? It will. Rage Fist coming out into Nicolo's side. Gonna be able to knock out that Dragon Bolt in one critical hit to boot, but let me tell you, traders, it didn't need it one bit. And it's now going to be the Sneasler and Primarina versus Annihilate and that Archaladon in the back.
Yeah, the Sneasler's in a great position now to just get rid of that Annihilate the next turn, but you kind of want to target the close combat into that Archaladon, because if you can get the big damage into that, that's probably more important, and then you can use the Primarina to maybe Moonblast into the Annihilate. And the alleviation that you've got here from the Archaladon is the Electroshock doesn't have the range, so it is going to have to be a 2-turn move, so you can at least be safe in knowing that you're not going to get hit by an electric type attack this turn.
This is where the paralysis really comes into play. The Annihilate is most likely going to be slower than the Primarina, so you do have the opportunity to just go straight for that close combat into the Archaladon. I think wisely the Annihilate there protecting itself from an attack from that Primarina, but it's a one-hit knockout. It's enough to pick up the KO onto that Archaladon. It's only Annihilate against Primarina and Sneasler. The Annihilate's paralyzed. It's not going to be able to move very quickly and will be susceptible to the close combat, to the Moonblast that Nicolo has managed to pull out of his hat right here.
Yeah, what a swing in momentum here for Nicolo with that Dire Claw, and how impactful that was. We do see Fevzi lock in the forfeit here, and Nicolo going to take game one. Dire Claw coming in clutch in that game, Ben.
So clutch in that game, and you know just exactly why trainers are opting for it as the secondary move. I mean, it does lots of damage. It is able to pick up lots of KOs, but in a pinch, that's exactly what you need to be able to do. And if that paralysis hadn't come out, it's a bit unfortunate for Fevzi, because if that paralysis hadn't come out, if the Annihilate wasn't fully paralyzed, there'd be one less Pokemon that Nicolo had at their disposal. But as it turns out, it was all about that Dire Claw activation to be able to, and then to be able to capitalize on that afterwards, get yourself into a good position, get enough damage onto the Annihilate, and preserve your Primarina for the end game.
Yeah, it was really smart preserving the Primarina, I think, because in particular for that end game. But not only that, showing the worth of the Sneasler as well. I mean, where the Rage Fist was being targeted in the turn where it was paralyzed is really key there. We know that Dragapult was the target the turn after, but was that because the Sneasler has access to protect and you don't want to risk it that next turn?
Yes.
And you want to make sure that you are getting a knockout. And
yes,
in fact, that turn that it was paralyzed, you're going after the Sneasler because you know in the back that you've got that Archaladon, and when it comes in, it is going to be threatened by that Pokemon. And that's where the real crux of it falls, and how important and how, you know, these little things like the secondary effects on a move like Dire Claw, it might not be the most powerful attack in the world, but it is so impactful when it activates.
Definitely, and that Sneasler is definitely going to be something that Fevzi needs to pay attention to. I mean, the Sneasler switching in and going straight down to the Focus Sash was fantastic for Fevzi. If he's able to do that again, maybe just be able to break it down with his Pokemon a little bit better, maybe he'll have the Archaladon in a better spot. And that's what I'm kind of thinking of for coming into game two, whether or not that Archaladon needs to be the Pokemon that's led, and keep Annihilate in the back that's a little bit less susceptible to something like a Sneasler close combat.
Yeah, and I think that's not a bad idea or approach to it, because I think with the support options that you're bringing with these two big powerhouses, they were cut down as soon as that Dragapult came in. So removing the Dragapult early on, and maybe that is an easier job for the Archaladon to do than the Annihilate in this situation. But here we are, we're getting into game two. Nicolo leading off with the Primarina, the Electabuzz, and Fevzi leading again with the Annihilate and the Mousehold.
Do you make the call here that there isn't a follow me and maybe there's a taunt coming out from the Electabuzz here? Try to get that beat up going onto the Annihilate. Try to knock out that Primarina before it even gets a chance to get started. I wonder, it's a big swing, but maybe these are the swings that you've got to make when you're in the top 8 and you're 1 game down.
If you can get the beat up off onto the Annihilate, I mean, it becomes an immediate threat where it is just going to be knocking things out with that Rage Fist, even without the bulk up that it had from that first game? Or do you prioritize getting the bulk up off, repeating kind of a similar vein of what you did last time? We are going to start off with a terastallization here once again onto the Annihilate, going into that Terra water type, and it will have the resistance to those hyper voices, which if they do come out, we know are going to boost that Rage Fist
and boost the Primarina as well with its throat spray. But it is just a follow me coming out from the Electabuzz. Nicolo playing that safe, no protect on turn 1 this time, and falling foul of the taunt from that Mousehold. A bulk up coming out from the Annihilate as well. So next turn, there is no follow me support whatsoever. Primarina's Hyper Voice, we know it from game 1, not going to be able to pick up a knockout onto that Mousehold, and the Mousehold is in the perfect spot to just start boosting up that Annihilate.
Yeah, and this is the problem now, where the beat up can come out and you can quite easily remove either one of these targets. We know with the taunt onto the Electabuzz, Fevzi's kind of pinned Nicolo into a position where whatever you do this next turn, you switch something in, it's going to take a lot of damage. And here we go, there's 1 beat up. Every member of Fevzi's team still active, so it will be 4 hits. There's number 3, and we'll round it off with a cheeky number 4. Rage Fist will be nearly fully powered up. It has been boosted 5 times, coming out from this bulk up boosted Annihilate into the Primarina, making easy work of that really awkward Pokemon from game 1.
1 hit knockout very, very easily. And of course, because of the taunt, the Electabuzz is having to go for an Electro Web. We talked about this already. It may be super effective against the Annihilate, but with the Friend Guard, just making sure that it's not taking too much damage, as well as getting that Defiant boost up. It almost doesn't matter at this stage that the Annihilate is going a little bit slower when you've got so much boosts to your Rage Fist, but also, if that wasn't enough, you've got 2 stages of increased attack now.
Yeah, and you're on +3 at the moment. If you are Annihilate and you've got those already boosted Rage Fists, boosted 5 times already, and then the +3 on top of it.
Now 6.
Oh, 6 times.
Yeah,
because
6.
of the Electro Web.
Yeah.
The drop in speed's a little bit of a detriment. Of course, I think the biggest problem for Nicolo now is making sure to get rid of that Mousehold as quick as possible. Now, you've got a good Pokemon to come in with the Sneasler, of course, to do that, but you need to act fast, and we are just going to see this turn play out with a Protect from the Annihilate, the Diaclaw going into that. What is this Mousehold going to decide to do? Is it going to maybe break a sash on the Sneasler with the beat up, make some utility out of that, as we do see an Electro Web now fired off from the Electabuzz. That's going to lower the speed on the Mousehold, but unfortunately does miss, and a beat up is exactly what we see into the Sneasler, making it easier to deal with later on in this match. More importantly, not doing the damage, but breaking that Focus Sash.
It doesn't matter that this beat up really doesn't do any damage into the Sneasler. Just 1 hit point is all you need in this scenario, and the Electabuzz is still taunted. It cannot follow me, redirect away from the Sneasler. Sneasler can go for a Protect in this situation. I think that would be wise for Nicolo to be considering, just to be able to try and get it to go for the close combat, or even are we in the situation where Diaclaw again is the out here for Nicolo?
Yeah, well, we'll soon find out as the Follow Me comes out from this Mousehold. It's done its job and ready to take a Diaclaw. It takes it pretty well, but it goes down, unfortunately. So, Nicolo taking a little bit of a clawback, but the Annihilate in a position now where it can just fire off. Oh,
it avoids.
But the Rage Fist coming out now in return. Going to be into the Electabuzz here and picking up a clean knockout with all of those boosts that it's had up to this point in the battle, leaving Nicolo with the Sneasler, broken Focus Sash, and 1 remaining Pokemon in the back.
And that 1 remaining Pokemon, you'd probably think that it was going to be Dragapult in this situation. It did quite a lot of damage in game 1, and you do need that damage on the board. Fevzi has such a defensively orientated team that Nicolo has to find a way to out-damage it almost and try to pick off the Pokemon. Well, it's not picking off the Pokemon anymore. It's really just trying to get as much damage as possible in there. Of course, we can see the Sinister in the back as well, like it was in Game 1, coming in, healing up that Annihilate to pretty much full HP, if not to full, and being able to act as a secondary redirector. Dragapult coming in. We know that one Dragon Dance isn't enough to be able to knock out this Sinister in one, so it's going to be able to redirect at least 2 attacks coming out from Nicolo's side of the field, and that Dragapult is locked in. It cannot protect itself. It has a choice band. It cannot switch anymore because Fevzi has taken 2 knockouts, and it looks like we are going towards a Game 3 here.
It does look like it. Not over yet, of course, but the Sneasler in a real precarious position now. Its sash has been broken. The Annihilate can easily pick it off, and like you say, with that redirection from the Sinister, it can just pull in any attacks. It's going to be able to, like you say, take the Dragon Darts if we do see the Terastallization, which it looks like we will do from the Dragon, the Dragapult, and that will be redirected into that slot. It will activate the Citrus Berry along the way, but the Sneasler doesn't have enough to take it down. Even if it does, something on Nicolo's side will be going down, and I would say maybe likely even the Dragapult this time around.
I think the Dragapult would be the clever choice here to be able to knock out, but it's an Outrage, not a Dragon Dance. It's more powerful. It's boosted by the Terror. It's not enough for the one-hit KO there. Sinister activating its Citrus Berry. Oh, that was a big hit. Now I'm going to have to recover some health, but the Dire Claw is going to be enough to pick up that secondary knockout, and Annihilate now gets its pick of targets, and it is, as you mentioned, Lee, going to be targeting into that Dragapult.
Yeah, removing that big threat because the Terastallization likely on there. You know, the Sneasler probably feels like it doesn't really have a way to get rid of the Annihilate, but now Fevzi with the Pelipper to bring in, it is going to pressure with those Hurricanes, with that Weather Ball and the Rain alongside it. The Annihilate bulked up, ready to go and close this, taking us into a Game 3.
Like the adaptation here from Fevzi, actually leaving the Archaladon at home and saying, well, okay, if I'm going to play the Annihilate game, if I'm going to go through this and try to knock out my opponent's Pokemon, and something goes a little bit wrong like it did in Game 1, actually the Pokemon that I want to be coming out last to be able to deal with a Pokemon like Sneasler is a Pokemon that resists close combat, not one that's weak to it.
Yeah, exactly that. The Dire Claw coming out into the Pelipper. No secondary effect there, and the Hurricane going to be enough, more than enough, with that Life Orb boosting it to pick up a knockout onto the Sneasler, tying this set up. Fevzi taking this game. We're going to a Game 3.
We absolutely are here. We are on the edge of our metaphorical seats here behind the desk in Dortmund. These trainers are looking focused. Fevzi is no stranger to being in this position. Nicolo may be feeling a little bit of pressure right now, but he is playing very, very well nonetheless. Going back to that Game 1, he was able to find a way through. Fevzi's team is so difficult to deal with, but he found a way to make it work. And now going into Game 3, we've seen quite a lot of the options that both of these trainers have available to them. Lee, what are you thinking as an adjustment for Nicolo? How do you break through Fevzi's team?
I think, you've got to expect Fevzi to probably lead the Annihilate in the Mousehold again. I do like the idea of the Dragapult as a lead rather than anything else, and then immediately go for that Terastallization, lock into Dragon Darts, and then maybe supplement it with something like the Primarina. I just don't feel like the Electabuzz is working. The only thing that the Electabuzz does is the fact that it allows you to distract the Mousehold a turn. It means that the beat up isn't so easy, right? Because it has to taunt you turn 1, and having its presence there, but outside of that, it's not really providing much value, in my opinion. And if you can with the Dragapult, if you can get rid of that Mousehold early on, easier said than done. Or you go with something that faster mode that Nicolo's been keeping in the back. You go the Sneasler, you go the Dragapult, I think, and that gives you the pressure to get rid of the Mousehold. I think the Mousehold is the key to enabling the Annihilate, and if you can prevent that, it makes the Annihilate a lot easier to deal with going forward.
I really like that way of thinking about it. Let's see if Nicolo is thinking along the same lines coming into Game 3. I keep wondering about that Rillaboom. I keep kind of looking at it. I'm not sure it's going to be coming to this matchup. It does struggle quite a lot into some of the other Pokemon as well, but a Terra Water Annihilate, a Wood Hammer would be quite nice in that situation.
Yeah, it really would, wouldn't it? You think if you can force that terrestrialization with maybe the Primarina and that Electabuzz lead, and you've got the Rillaboom in the back, it makes it a lot better, doesn't it? But we are getting into it. Here we go, Game 3. We are seeing Fevzi stick to the same lead, the Annihilate and Maushold, and Nicolo going with the Sneasler and that Dragapult.
Close combat and the Dragon Darts both threatening KOs here on the Maushold. So yeah, really, like as you were saying, Lee, dealing with the Maushold early is really a key for Nicolo to be able to come back after losing game number 2. And he's definitely put all of the pieces on the field to be able to achieve that. Of course, if a Dragon Darts does go into the Maushold and knock it out, then you do get the opportunity to go for a Dire Claw into the Annihilate in this spot. And so that really could open the door. Multiple Dire Claws gives you multiple opportunities to slow that Annihilate down a little bit more.
Well, here we go, trainers. We're going to see the first terrestrialization of this Game 3. It is going to be that Dragapult from Nicolo's side of the field. It is going to boost those Dragon-type attacks. But Fevzi just wanted to scout things out, protecting both the Maushold and that Annihilate just to see what this Dragapult has locked into. Of course, that choice band meaning that it will have to choose that Dragon Darts from here on out until it switches. And the Dire Claw following up from that Sneasler.
Well, it's a good double protect there because you definitely want to know what that Dragapult is going to be doing in this situation so you can react as best you can to the scenario. I'm not sure there's any Pokemon that wants to switch into the combination of that attacks. Yes, you could maybe try to switch in the Archaludon if Fevzi has brought it to this match, but it's still going to be taking a lot of damage for its troubles.
But there is one thing that Fevzi could do, and that is the Fairy Terrestrialization on the Maushold. If you transform into that Terra type and you follow me, the Dragon Darts would be not effective into that slot, of course.
No, but then that
smart targeting.
Smart targeting then would go, oh, but not if the follow me comes out. The smart targeting kind of gets defeated by the follow me from the Maushold. Like, and here we go. Here it is. The Terra Fairy, the Maushold with the heart above their head coming out here. Fevzi reacting to that situation perfectly, and follow me coming out to negate any damage from that Dragon Darts.
Well, we are going to see the Dragon Darts here. No Terra Boost because it's not going to have any effect. The Dire Claw, though, super effective into the Maushold.
It's a one-hit KO.
And it is a one-hit KO.
Into the Maushold. The Maushold is knocked out for the count. Now the Annihilate cannot go for its Terra Water. It's going to stay Ghost Fighting for the rest of the game. Yes, it's going to be able to get a bulk up. Yes, it's going to be able to start setting its way to a path here to do a lot of damage. But Fevzi, I think for the first time this set is on the back foot.
Yeah, I really like the adjustment from Nicolo here, and getting rid and covering that potential terrestrialization with the Sneasler is so good, and why this pairing are so overwhelming when led like this. The thing is now as well, I like with this lead is the Annihilate hasn't had any of those Rage Fist boosts that the Primarina was kind of giving it for free in those first 2 games. You've avoided that. Yes, it's got a bulk up. Yes, it can take attacks a little bit better. You do have redirection, of course, now. But the Sinistcha with the combination of a Dragon Dart isn't going to be able to take a Dire Claw from it. The Annihilate is sitting pretty safe at least this turn, but the Sneasler still got its Focus Sash intact.
It has. We see a Rage Powder coming out from the Sinistcha. We've seen this previously. It can take a Outrage, which also means it should be able to take a Dragon Darts unless one of them has a critical hit. Here's the first one. The second one going into the Sinistcha. Just 34 hit points remaining, but a few more than that after it munches on its Citrus Berry, restoring a little bit of health, but probably not enough to be able to take an attack from the Dire Claw, which is going absolutely crazy this game, going for that critical hit and picking up the knockout.
And another bulk up here from the Annihilate, just wanting to bolster those defenses a step further. +2 in the attack and its defense. Is it going to be enough to take what this Dragapult and the Sneasler are throwing out? The remaining last Pokemon on Fevzi's side of the field is that Pelipper. We know it's an offensive threat. It brings the rain. It's got the Life Orb. Has it got enough to be able to take a Dragon Dart from this Dragapult? There's no redirection now. The Dragapult able to fire that off into both targets. The Sneasler enabled with the Diaclaw. Can that play a role? We are going to see how this game is going to play out. It all comes down to this next turn. The bulk ups are set up on the Annihilate and it's ready to go.
That Annihilate is absolutely out there to do as much damage as possible, but the full complement of Nicolo's team is ready to take those attacks. Pelipper just going for the protect, making sure that it's not going to be taking any damage this turn, setting itself up for the Annihilate to boost up its Rage Fists from the 2 hits that the Dragon Darts takes, but this Diaclaw is not going to be enough, especially since it's targeting into the protect. The Annihilate now will be able to go for a Rage Fist, will be able to target down into that Dragapult, will be able to pick up that 1-hit knockout and secure the first knockout for Fevzi in this game 3.
Yeah, getting rid of the Dragapult, a huge step forward in taking this game for Fevzi. There's still a lot to do there. The bulk ups, you can see how valuable they were in being able to take that banded Dragon Darts there, just about 50% health. Now the Electabuzz that was so relied on in those first 2 games as a lead for Nikolai comes in as one of the supporting members here, and actually in this situation not too bad either, because it's got that Electro Web that it can fire on, do super effective damage to the Pelipper, but can also slow down on that Annihilate as well, although if you do go for that, you run the risk of activating that Defiant ability, which you kind of want to avoid. But the Sneasler in a position now where it can potentially double up into the Pelipper because it just protected that last turn, and with the Electro Web and the Diaclaw into that slot, you can remove it, leaving just the Annihilate there. Diaclaw coming out, critical hit, big.
Oh, and the Annihilate is outspeeding the Electabuzz in this spot. Goes for a Rage Fist, hanging on just a little bit, and the Electro Web goes off. Pelipper is going down. The Annihilate is going to get a speed reduction here. It's going to be going slower. If the Primarina for Nicolo is in the back, maybe it's going to be outspeeding this Annihilate. Annihilate's going to have to be able to take another Electro Web because now it's got a reduced amount of speed. The Sneasler still has its Focus Sash intact. It doesn't matter how many stages of increased attack that Annihilate has, and the Electro Web could be knocked over by a stiff breeze at this point with the amount of hit points remaining on it.
That survival from the Electabuzz was incredible. You expect it to go down. The Annihilate outspeeding it, you think, oh, this is not going Nicolo's way, but the survival huge, allowing the double up into the Pelipper and taking it down, removing that threat. The protect coming out from the Annihilate, a smart play because it allows one more tick over of the leftovers here. But can you get through this with Annihilate, or are you going to face down against this Electabuzz, the Electro Web, the Diaclaw?
And whatever is in the back for Nicolo as well. There is still one unrevealed Pokemon. We have our suspicions on what that may be, and I think I like what I see here. Fevzi's adjustment to going for a Drain Punch and trying to recover a little bit of that HP because it's not taking as much damage, but Poison Touch activating from the Sneasler there, putting that Annihilate a little bit more on the timer. The second Electro Web not picking up the KO, but once again reducing the speed of that Annihilate. Whatever's in the back is now definitely going to be going first, but a big Drain Punch. 5+, 6+ attack, and look at how much health that's recovered now.
Yeah, that's a really smart adjustment from Fevzi, knowing that the Rage Fist, yes, it could not do the same sort of damage, but I'm going to get more utility out of the Drain Punch. I'm going to get that health back. The big problem is that Poison Touch activating, because now it's put it on a ticker. Now you have to really prioritize that Drain Punch. You are boosted up to pretty much the max at this point with those Defiant boosts. Another Diaclaw coming out, but not really the damage that you need, and another Electro Web just about doing the damage. But the Pokemon on Nicolo's side of the field don't have the HP to give you the recovery now, which is the big problem, Ben.
It is, and now Drain Punch, yeah, it's going to be knocking out the Electabuzz. only recovered a paltry 1 hit point from that Electabuzz. That's a lot less hit points than I think Fevzi is needing in this particular situation. But now we get the reveal of what Nicolo's final Pokemon is. Will that Pokemon, along with Sneasler, have what it takes to be able to knock out this Annihilape and seal the game for Nicolo? Or will this Annihilape be able to go all the way?
Well, it's looking very dicey at this point, and it is, as you suspected, the Primarina coming in out of the back. And you would say normally the Electro Web put you at a detriment, but the speed advantage it gives you means that Fevzi locks in the forfeit. Nicolo will be proceeding on to top 4 here at the Dortmund Regional Championships.
Congratulations to Nicolo, showing that in their first day 2 they can go all the way, making it into the top 4 here in Dortmund. And what a way to do it as well against